wonderful introduction and also for inviting me to talk to all of you. The topic that you have chosen really is an interesting one. A little bit, what should I say, treading the off-beaten path where Vedanta is concerned, which is very, very nice. And the question of divine feminine and the Hindu tradition is of particular interest to me because having grown up in the tradition, there always seemed to be a disconnect, so to speak, from what I could see between the gloriously dressed and equipped with various kinds of weaponry, goddesses that we greet in the temples, and then how the majority of women would be treated. And then to make matters worse would be the depiction in the Western media about women in India and how terrible everything is and all that. So this became a particularly intriguing question for me to look into the depth of this. Like, what is exactly going on here? What is this big gap or this disconnect that we see? This is what made me research a little more on how to understand the question of the divine feminine in the Hindu tradition. In the Hindu tradition, we don't say that God is male. We don't say God is female. Nothing. In fact, everything is God. This is in one sentence the crux of the vision of Vedanta. And to quote my guru, and what would he say? He would say, we do not believe in one God, we do not believe in many gods, all that there is God. Everything that you see is God. We don't worship one God, we don't worship many gods. Everything that's here is not outside of what we call God. And that is something which takes at least a lifetime, if not more, to understand the purport of this. It takes a whole lifetime. Because to be able to look at anything in the universe and see that, which one that is not separate from the cause of the universe takes a lot of maturity, takes a lot of being able to qualify for this knowledge of oneness. But before we go there, we should look into how the tradition, before we go into the specifics of the women's issue, we should look in the tradition itself. Like, we have to make a difference between what are called the primary texts and the secondary texts. This is of importance because the primary texts called the Upanishads, we believe, are revealed. Revealed means nobody actually authored them. They were seen by seers. That's why they are called seers. They were seen and they were just, they were understood, they were seen. Like the mantras of the Upanishad were seen and then verbally given from the rishis to their students, who then understood that and gave it to their students in an unbroken lineage. And so that we say is the apaurushaya. Apaurushaya means untouched by human. It's not thought of by human beings. And in fact, every scripture in every religion is said to be revealed. That which is revealed is the scriptures. We don't have human-made scriptures at all. So this constitutes what we call the Upanishads. And then we have the Bhagavad Gita, which is, even though it is authored by Bhagavan Vyasa, we say that it is still it is still it is still like an Upanishad, because it distills the message of the Upanishad, that gives it in a way that is easy to understand, that is poetic, and that touches the heart, and it's easy to understand than the Upanishads. So that is the, those are called secondary texts, and we have many other secondary texts like this. And the Vedas themselves are divided into, as we know, there are 4 Vedas, but each Veda has 2 general divisions. The first one is called Karma Kanda, which tells us about the know-how of how to live in this world. What kind of a lifestyle should we have, which is conducive to gaining this knowledge? How to qualify for this knowledge? So for that we need mental discipline, we need physical discipline, we need a worshipful attitude towards everything in the world. All this comes under what is called Karma Yoga. So that is taught in the first portion of the Veda, and its purpose primarily is preparation, and preparation of the mind and the body to receive this knowledge that one is connected to everything else in the universe. And so this preparation is done in a very systematic way, and in a very unique way. It's not through the cutting down or elimination of desires as one might think. It is through channeling the desires to be fulfilled through worship, through invocation of Lord and Goddess. That is how it prepares the mind. And so the desire itself is a manifestation of the Lord. The desire is a manifestation of the Goddess within. So it's not curtailed. It's not like, oh, you have to remove all the desires. Because if you keep saying, I have to remove all the desires, then you're left with a desire for removing all the desires. How are you going to remove that desire? Then you need another desire to remove all those desires. And then here we'll be here all day long, trying to remove that which cannot really be removed. And so we are taught in the first portion of the Vedas to sanctify the desires by going through the doorway marked worship, invocation of all the hidden variables over which we have no control, because that is why the desire is not fulfilled. Because for every variable over which you have control, there are at least 10 others over which you don't have control. And so therefore, how to ward off those obstacles, and how to overcome these hidden variables through invocation, rather than sitting in a place of helplessness and lack of agency. We use prayer as agency in order to fulfill the desires. And so therefore, being on a diet of prayer makes one a little less controlling, a little less dramatic. One becomes less of a drama king and a drama queen in one's own life. One gets a little more matured, and then through this, equipped with this internal maturity, one graduates, so to speak, to the second portion of the Veda, which is the knowledge that all that is here is one whole, and that is you. This is the 2 kinds of what should I say, the portions of the Vedas. The first portion is actually easy to follow and also very addictive, because here I have some wonderful way of fulfilling a desire. This is great. I mean, all I have to do is invoke all these deities, and then I have it. Or even if I don't have it, I have a lamp to cry on, no problem, and I can console myself and go on to the next thing. And so one can, without understanding that one can actually graduate from this, one can kind of remain locked in the first portion of the Veda for a very, very long time unless one is mindful that there is a different vantage point other than this. And so and what is this vantage point of seeing that whatever the form, whatever the name to which you are praying is non-separate from you. That is basically what is to be understood. Now, this same division is iterated in the secondary works of the tradition, and then we have a number of works for the Dharma Shastras. So we have which basically are reflected in what are called the Smriti works. Manusmriti being the most famous of all of them. There is Yagyamalkya Smriti, Manusmriti, and there are certain other sutras which people, even today, they will say, this is my Gotra, this is my Sutra, Apastamba Sutra, Gautama Sutra, like that. So many sutras are there. So all this is, these are all secondary works on the first portion of the Veda. And here is where we find that disconnect. This is where is the source of the disconnect, not the primary teachings, because the men being much more erudite in those days, and then having a command over the Sanskrit language, and also all the traditions in the world becoming more increasingly patriarchal. What we find is that there's a whole lot of impossible things that only women have to follow, not the men. This is what a woman must do. This is how for the most part, there are certain things that men also should do. But then somehow the fact that these laws called the Dharma Shastras are laid down for women, that makes it extremely, what should I say? It's a point of contention. Like, why are women singled out? And then as it became much more patriarchal, then many rules were started to be made up, which were not there in the Upanishads at all. One thing of note is what? We have the diktat. Women should not chant Om. And women should not chant the Vedic mantras in general. Women should not chant Gayatri mantra. And then what else? Women should not chant the Shri Rudra. Even now, I have people saying, saying to me, I was going to come to your talks. Why didn't you come? One time I asked, because you were talking about the Gayatri mantra. And I said, so? And I'm a woman, I'm not supposed to listen to it. And so it's very sad when we encounter these things. And then, but when we look at these taboos, it looks like they were just there to make sure that the division of labor was not disturbed in those times. So those are actually cultural rather than religious taboos. Cultural taboos means belonging to a specific time at a specific place and the exigencies of that time and place. Because see, if you just chant Kevala Om, only Om, not Om plus Namah Shivaya, or Om plus Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, then it becomes a complete mantra. You have Sabuna, Namah Shivaya. So Shiva in the form of the one that is considered to be very auspicious, that's a form. And then so this is there. And then Om, Nirgun, formless, essentially nameless, formless truth of oneself. That is Nirgun. So if only Om is chanted, it gives this passion. Suddenly you don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel like going to work. You don't feel like, yes, the Himalayas look suddenly attractive, and ashrams start to call you, and you just wonder if you have missed your calling as a Swami, and then you just feel like going more and more in that direction. That's why Grihasthas both men and women are told not to chant only Om. You can chant Om, but then you chant along with Namah Shivaya or any other mantra. So, but then if women chanted Om, then who would cook? This was a very big problem. Who would clean? If men chanted Om, they can at least go to the Himalaya. And then women, cannot travel very far because of the difficulties in those times. And so therefore, there was this prohibition for women chanting Om. Same thing with Rudra, same thing with Gayatri. Gayatri increases the desire to learn more Veda, learn more Vedanta. And then it would disrupt the social fabric of and the division of labor. And this is why it was disallowed in those times. And then, so this way, so this way we have to be able to look at contemporary Indian taboos and all these things in this particular light, because otherwise we have the problem of throwing away the baby along with the bathwater. We just say the whole tradition is very sexist and the whole tradition is extremely not useful, and we end up throwing away the entire tradition. And so therefore there is this, with this caveat, we can look into what this world of goddesses and looking at and how the Hindu tradition looks at the feminine principle, and what does that what does that give us? How can it enrich our lives, and how can it help us? We can look into that. So we look at, when we say Creator, Ishvara, Bhagavan, then what do we have? We have that which is neither female nor male. We just have Bhagavan. But then, from the standpoint of the intelligence, which is in the form of the laws of the universe, when it's going to rain, how it's going to rain, when it's not going to rain, including all these super category 5 hurricanes that are coming every 3 days. You forget all their names and you don't even know what they are. And so including the disturbance in the order is also part of the order. And so we see the whole universe as a manifestation of various orders of the universe. And that is the intelligence. When we talk of Bhagavan from the standpoint of knowledge or intelligence, and then that is a very important way of invoking this Ishvara from the standpoint of the laws. So wherever there are laws in the universe, then that is not just a mandate of Bhagavan, it's a manifestation of Bhagavan. So that's why it is called hurricane. Hurricane. Okay? Yeah. So this is what it is. And only one small spelling mistake. Instead of C-A-N-E, it should have been C-A-M-E. Hurricane. And that's what it is. That it's not that Bhagavan is sending on the hurricane. It is in fact a manifestation of Hari himself. And so this is what we have to understand, and this is how we come closer to seeing that the more we are in tune with those laws of the universe, the more we are close to them, the more we are able to lead our lives in tandem with what is. And then we come to the feminine principle, and the feminine principle is just what we call the raw material. Because in anything that is made, we have the intelligence and the raw material. That is how all products are made. If we take a pot, which is a stock example in Vedanta, we take a pot, and so we need two things for that. We need somebody's mind, somebody's intelligence. Think of this shape, which is round and which can hold water for whatever purposes. It is made with it has an intelligence, and it is made for a particular purpose. And so this is the intelligence. Then what else do we need? We need the raw material, whether it's brass or whether it is clay or whether it is even plastic. These days, unfortunately, we have everything made of plastic, including plastic pots as well. So all that, that constitutes the raw material. So the raw material plus the intelligence, we say, is Bhagavan. So the raw material, since it's a creative power, and the manifest raw material is called Maya Shakti. And that is coded as Brahman. And so all the glorious goddess temples are various, what should I say, prayers, various acknowledgements of the people for the um, Shakti. Ichha Shakti, the power to desire, and Jnana Shakti, the power of knowing, and Kriya Shakti, the power of doing. All that is rested in the goddess, because it is she who is the intelligence is there, but she is the one who moves, shakes, and brings that intelligence to manifestation. And so therefore we have a rich tradition of goddess worship. And when we worship the goddess, it's a very tangible way of being one with nature, being one with all the things in the world. And we have so many goddesses. In fact, we can even have many more. In fact, the goddess worship is so natural to us because whatever people want, which are called Purushartha, meaning the goals in life that people want, are all coded as feminine. It's all feminine. So people, what they want? Money. What is money? Lakshmi. Yes, Lakshmi. She's the goddess. Money is not just money for us. That's why you may have lived in America for many, many years, many decades even, but accidentally you step on some money, immediately you just ask a small forgiveness. Even now, you ask a small forgiveness. In fact, you're stepping on a little green, piece of paper, but still, that is Lakshmi. So money is Lakshmi, and Lakshmi is not just money. She's abundance and all wishes in one. That's why she has 8 forms. Marital happiness, Griha Lakshmi, household happiness, Griha Lakshmi, and then happiness in terms of good progeny, Santana Lakshmi, happiness, courage that we need to face situations in our life, Dhairya Lakshmi. And then the food that we eat, Dhanya Lakshmi, money, Dhana Lakshmi. Like this, there are so many, so many forms of this Lakshmi. Everything that one is after, it's all Lakshmi, 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 Lakshmi. It's nothing else. Everybody is after Lakshmi. And if you say, I am an exception, I'm a nerd, and what do I want? I just want to sit and read. I want to sit and study. Then what do we have? It's Saraswati. Yes, it's Saraswati. So then any kind of art, Saraswati, fine arts, Saraswati. And then we have what else? We have the study of Vedanta, the highest kind of knowledge, Saraswati. Any other knowledge, Saraswati. And all these computer knowledge and all these things, all the applications, everything, Saraswati. Who is in the cloud? Saraswati. Everything is there. This is all Saraswati. She's on the ground, she's in the cloud, she's everywhere. And so it's all Saraswati, 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 all the way. And so between, and then, in this, Saraswati is not particularly jealous that so many people are going to Lakshmi and very few people to me. So she would have got jealous. She's not jealous at all, because she knows that Lakshmi can make you buy a book, but without her grace, Saraswati's grace, that book cannot be transferred into your head. That knowledge cannot come. So, between knowledge and happiness, these two women, the goddesses, rule the hearts of the whole of humanity. Even if you've never heard of the word Lakshmi, once it so happened that in Washington, D.C., I was giving a temple tour for, for a group of seminarians. They were actually studying in a Christian seminary, and for an interfaith experience, about 60, 70 of them, along with their teachers, they came to the temple. And I was giving a talk, but then what happened was that they said, can you please give the tour because there's nobody, all our volunteers are not available. I said, certainly, I'll give a tour. So then they were all following me, and this is the biggest temple in the Washington, D.C. area. And I was going one shrine after the other. And then so we came to this Vishnu shrine. And after that, then there was this goddess Lakshmi shrine. So I explained what Lakshmi is. And then after that, I went to the place where they have, Rama, Lakshmana, Sita. I was trying to explain that. And then I found that I was talking to myself. They all just stood in front of the Lakshmi shrine. They refused to leave. And they're all kneeling there and praying. Once they knew what this was. And these are people who do not believe in quote-unquote idol worship. And these are people who don't, but this is the lure of Lakshmi. This is the lure of Lakshmi. It's universal. And even the teachers who were with them, they were all standing and with their folded hands, and they were all praying at this particular shrine. And so, from all the shrines, the Lakshmi shrine was the most popular. And next one, of course, is Saraswati. So, these two goddesses have the whole world in their thrall, basically. And so, in the Hindu tradition, we recognize this, and we recognize the need for this acknowledging the feminine principle. Because the feminine principle, which is, it's not just for women. Every man has the feminine principle, and the masculine is in women too. It's not just, we cannot bifurcate it like this. So, and the Bhagavad Gita says this further, that wherever Lord Krishna says that this is all the goddesses are my form alone, ultimately. And wherever there is compassion, wherever there is courage, wherever there is patience, this is all goddess. And so that means that if we want to be patient, if we want to be compassionate, if we want to be more accommodative, we have to allow that part of us to speak. We have to allow that part some airtime and cultivate that. Because without cultivating that, what happens is that we are leading a life that is cut off from much more than just the so-called feminine principle. We are leading a life that is cut off from the very values and from the very areas of growth that we would like to participate in and to have like a full experience of the life. It is very, very important to open the heart to the divine, what we call, what is called in the title of this talk, the divine feminine. It's very, very important. And in the tradition, we say that the goddess is the grace of the goddess is in a way very, very immediate. It's very, very immediate. Why? Because she represents the created universe. And the created universe, unlike the intelligence that abides in it, is much more tangible, much more objectifiable, and much more related. So only through something that is relatable, then you can connect to that which is not objectifiable, which is the truth of the universe, the truth of yourself, and the truth of what we call Ishvara, which is Satchidananda, that consciousness which makes you answer the question, yes. If I ask the question, are you here? You say yes. And what is it that makes you say yes? It is that consciousness. It is that awareness. And that awareness itself is equated to the Lord, which includes the goddess, of course. And then so we have the So we have this Maya Shakti, and that Maya Shakti in the form of Lakshmi, Saraswati, Parvati, on so many things. We can have many, many, many goddesses. But then, as soon as we say the word Maya, there is a derogatory, derisive kind of an idea associated with Maya. And that is again because of rampant, what is it called, misinformation and misunderstanding. So the word Maya, Yama, Sa Maya. So she who is all knowledge is Maya. So Maya literally means she who is all knowledge. But then where did she get this reputation of being somebody who obfuscates, somebody who is a trickster, and somebody who misleads? And that is because we are looking at Maya through the eyes of self-ignorance. When we look at Maya through the eyes of not knowing who I am, then from that standpoint, she looks like she obfuscates. She looks like she tricks. She looks like she hides the truth of me from myself. That's because I never approached her, asking her for the truth of myself. And then if I did that, then she would immediately convert herself into Saraswati and Mother Shruti and give me this knowledge. Because, see, because I approach her with the eyes of distrust, suspicion, and fear, she looks like that. She looks like the worst prophecy has come true. And this is how she gets the reputation that she has got, she's out to ensnare. In the tradition, we talk about two kinds of Shakti of Maya. One is what is called Vikshepa Shakti. Vikshepa Shakti is not, again, not derogatory. What does it mean? It means that which makes the one into many, as it were. So that one truth of everything, which is myself alone, I see through 8 billion faces. This is just talking about the humans. Then, if we talk about trees, if we talk about plants, if we talk about animals, then I see billions and trillions of various forms of life. Then, if we talk about the inanimate things in the universe, the mountains, the waters, etc., then again, and the 5 elements, the various manifestations of the 5 elements, we are talking of countless names and countless forms, all which has come from one Satchidananda, one I, one non-dual whole self. Just like many, many pots, many, many leaves, many, many figurines can come from one lump of clay. One clay, many objects, one Shakti, many, many, many manifestations. So many manifestations and so little time. So this is just Vikshepa Shakti. And she's not tricking. She's just making this as though, as we have to say as though, because that one is still one. We are looking at it through the eyes of self-ignorance. What does the eye of self-ignorance mean? Means I take each and every form to be discrete. I buy into that manifoldness without really understanding that it is all one. This is the first mistake. It is not the goddess's mistake. It is my own mistake. The goddess has just made the one into many, so to speak, just like a skilled potter has taken one lump of clay. Let's say you were walking in a village and you were passing through the potter's work area, which is just a field outside. And in the morning, when you went to the other village, you saw a big lump of clay. And when you came back, no clay at all. What did you see? You saw instead many earthenware lamps, many pots, many Krishna figurines, and many, many different things. What happened to the lump of clay? You can't say it's gone. It is as though morphed into these various objects. So the same thing. If the person who is ignorant of clay comes back, the person will sit and cry and lament that the clay has gone. And then all these frightening, ghoulish creatures have been replaced by clay. They don't know that Halloween is coming, and so the potter made some scary faces and masks instead of doing the usual pair of pots and Krishna figurines. So is it the potter's fault? No. Is it the clay's fault? No. Whose fault it is? It is my own mistake in believing each and every form as discrete and separate from myself, number one, and as a result, it is out to get me. This is the problem. So this is one Shakti, Maya Shakti. And then again, the next Shakti, it is called Vikshepa Shakti, the power of projection. And then the other one is called Avarana Shakti. And what is Avarana Shakti? Avarana Shakti means the Shakti that is that as though conceals. And again, I have to use the word as though, because there is no concealment. There cannot be any concealment. Because just like the Atma, the Brahman, Ishvara, is just like the sun. The sun cannot be concealed. So even if you have the fog, it's not that the fog is hiding the sun. It's because of the sun you are able to see the fog. And so the so-called concealment is again through my ignorant eyes. Through the eyes of ignorance, I feel like I have, as though my true nature of myself as being one with everything in the universe has been concealed or hidden from me. She is not hiding anything. That's why I say it's a as though power of concealment or the veiling power. Avarana Shakti is called the veiling power, like there is a curtain here. And then, of course, being Indians, we don't know the difference between D and W. Okay, so we just say veiling as though it's W-A-I-L-I-N-G, and that is perfectly all right because if I don't understand the veiling power, it makes me wail. Yes, it makes me cry out and say, I'm trapped in samsara. What have you done? Oh no, all of these kinds of things. So the Avarana Shakti, the power to conceal, is from the standpoint of the individual. It cannot conceal Ishvara, and if I know and it cannot conceal the truth of myself, Atma. And if I know myself, then there is no more Avarana for which a committed teaching, a program of committed teaching is required to remove this thing called Avarana. And the Vikshepa you don't remove because you don't have to make all these clay figures back into one. And you don't have to do that. You just have to recognize that everything is clay. And that's all it is. And so therefore, the Avarana is the problem. Avarana leads to samsara, the life of trying to become something or the other all the time, which is extremely unbecoming and a waste of time. And so the Avarana Shakti has to, that has to be overpowered by knowing the truth of myself. And for that, of course, we have to study the Upanishads, we have to study the Bhagavad Gita, and these kinds of texts we have to do. And this is what is called, so to speak, crossing Maya. There's nothing to cross, really. All that is there is self-ignorance, and I have to redeem that self-ignorance. I have to, if I don't know who I am, then I have to educate myself on who I am. That is what I have to do. And therefore I have to go to a qualified teacher. I have to understand what is it that I'm missing, what is it that I'm lacking, and I have to change this self-ignorance into self-knowledge. You see, even the dogs and cats, all of them are yes, they all have self-ignorance. Everything has self-ignorance. But the animals are better off than us because the self-ignorance in them is just that. They don't know that they are God. The dog doesn't say, there is a spelling mistake in my name, it should be G-O-D. It doesn't say that. That's the only difference. For us, since we have free will and we are not programmed, that self-ignorance starts to act out, and then there is a part B to the self-ignorance, which is what? That is the part B. I don't know myself, and therefore, I come to various and unsavory conclusions. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares. No matter how hard I work, the other fellow gets the promotion. No matter what I do, I'm not appreciated. And no matter where I go, something is always wrong with me. This is all my own conclusions. And these conclusions alone is the reason why the avarana continues. Avarana means self-ignorance. And so this is what is dropped. It doesn't take time to know you are the whole. In fact, that is already there. I know I am. And then what do you want to be? What do you want? I want forever. That's what the person will say. I want forever. Because even happiness doesn't cut it. Happiness means what? How long you want to be happy? Somebody will say 5 minutes. Somebody 5 minutes, I want to be happy. Nobody will say that. I want to be happy. How long? Forever. And that's why, in the Indian circles, if you tell somebody, oh, I got a job. Is it permanent? Nobody is interested in the job. Is it permanent? And then even in the 5th marriage, people will say this time it is forever. Other 4 times don't ask. This time it is forever. It's the forever one is in search of. My question to you is this: how do you know to look for something that you have had no taste of? How do you know that you want the forever if you haven't had a taste of it? Because this is not something, see, you can't desire something you do not know. At least indirectly somebody should come and tell you that, oh, there is such a place I have gone to, you should go. There is a restaurant that has opened up, it's got great reviews, please go and experience it. Or this holiday is out of this world, please go. Or there is such a place called heaven. Of course, nobody comes and tells you, the Veda will tell. There is no heaven returned who still remembers. So, all these things, you have to know something in order to desire. But everybody desires the forever. That means what? Already the desire for the forever is built into the heart. It's an uncultivated desire. It's an unfettered, uncultivated desire that simply will not shut up. That will just keep on manifesting itself in all these ways, in so many ways, so many times, it will not shut. In sleep, you are one with everything. That's why nobody wants to wake up. Everybody is quick about going to sleep. That's why the sleep doctors are thriving very well. They just, they watch you sleep and they make sure that there are no disturbances, and there are ways of fixing the various sleep disturbances. Why? Because the sleep the sleep is basically Vedanta. It's oneness with everything. So there is that taste for the forever. And then if it is not being met, then we cannot say Maya goddess or the goddess is to blame. Goddess is not to blame. I have to see the world through the eyes of the goddess. I have to see the whole universe through eyes of the one who wants to know, not the one who is constantly ready to blame. And finally, I will also say this: unfortunate state of affairs in India, where we have so many women undergoing so many difficulties all over the globe, really, but all over India specifically, since we are talking about this, is because the discussion that we had about Maya Shakti is translated to individual women. Maya Shakti is nothing to do with women. It's a power that has been coded as feminine. That's all it is. It is nothing to do with women. So therefore, all these narratives that women are trickster figures, you cannot trust Maya. Therefore, what? You cannot trust women. And then they do this, and they beguile you, and they lead you astray, and all these things. This is all just rampant ignorance. absolute rampant ignorance from, from people who parade as scholars but are coming from, I'm sorry to say, a very misogynistic place. And this is something, I will leave us with some practical tips of what to do and how to overcome this unfortunate wrong ideas in our own lives, and those, and that in the philosophy as well, how to correct it for ourselves. So one thing we have to do is disconnect the discussion of Maya, Shakti, which is a philosophical discussion, as having to do with women and men. And that is not connected at all. Absolutely not. Even, women themselves are under the spate of Maya, as are men. It's not that one is, one is the aggressor and the other is not. So this we have to make that kind of definitely make that kind of separation. And then we have to look at, we have to be able to see, second thing, we have to be able to see the truth of ourselves as completely non-gendered Bhagavan in the form of Chaitanya Swarupa. Chaitanya means consciousness, means awareness. That is what it is. This is Satchidananda. That is how we have to see ourselves. This is the second thing that we have to do. And thirdly, I feel is that there is a big gap in terms of seva efforts, services, and everything that we can do to help people. And if you have any, from standpoint of your work, etc., some kind of charitable activities, etc., please make sure that you fund women-friendly organizations or women's organizations that help, especially battered women and women cancer survivors. So many wonderful works are going on. We ourselves have started one foundation, a global foundation called Arsha Shakti Foundation, for women. And you can look it up, arshakti.org. So you can look it up, and then you can do that. And so the more we rid ourselves of the wrong notions about goddesses, etc., divine feminine and women, we grow into healthy and much more well integrated individuals. And because of that, we are able to inspire others in the workplace, in our homes. And this way we can go a long way in dispelling some of the stereotypes and myths in the universe. Thank you very much. Om Tat Sat.